welcome again to 30 Days, 30 Tips. Today is day 3, and we're going to be talking about survival income, particularly during the COVID pandemic. Earlier last year, when the COVID pandemic first started, I did an interview with Sarah Cordner, who is an expert in online training and course creation. She has thousands of students in so many countries around the world. She's very well published, and anyway, she's great at what she does. And we put together this particular video interview where we discussed some ways of using what you're already doing as an RTO to try and help you continue to survive in the COVID pandemic. What I will do actually at the end of this live video is I'll put a link to that video in the comments. You'll be able to access it still. However, some of the promotions that applied at that particular time may no longer be available. But I'm sure if you mentioned to Sarah that you're approaching her as a result of one of the videos that we've done together or something like that, I'm sure she would be more than happy to do you a good deal. So one of the biggest tips that I have always given to every provider that I have ever worked with is do not have all your eggs in one basket. Many providers open their RTO, and of course all their focus goes on to nationally recognised training because they've spent so much time and money in investing in that RTO that they think that's where all their focus should go. But as a lot of providers learned during the COVID pandemic, if you're in lockdown and the RTO can no longer operate as it normally would, then your income is quite significantly affected. And so it's more important now than ever that advice that I've always given is don't put all your eggs in one basket. And it's not just for RTOs, that actually applies for everyone in the sector, myself included. What I have discovered during my own business survival during COVID is that there has been a part of my business that has specialized in a certain area, and that there's need for focusing in other areas. So the advice that I was giving others is not necessarily the advice that I was listening to myself. I wasn't practicing what I preach. So it does apply to everyone. It applies to consultants, it applies to course developers, it applies to trainers and assessors. You know, if you're a trainer and assessor, for example, and you only ever work for one particular provider and they collapse or they close down because of everything that's going on with COVID, it's a really great idea to make sure that you spread yourself around so that you've got other sources of income coming in at any particular time. What we have found, though, is that the importance of understanding that having all your eggs in one basket and having available choices to you is a necessity now. It's not necessarily a choice. So some of the areas that I also thought of that people might be able to generate further income, or what I call survival income, during lockdown and the pandemic, where they may not be able to operate their RTO. Just a few ideas and tips that I think may be able to help people. There may be others, and I would really encourage other people to comment in the comments, because this is, after all, about helping everybody in the sector to survive COVID. So if you've got an idea that I haven't come up with, and that's highly likely, please go ahead and make sure that you pop that in the comments so that we can all benefit from it. Some of the tips, though, I'm going to read off them because I had quite a few and I didn't want to forget any. Corporate training is a massive area, and there are just not enough RTOs that go around and engage in corporate training. It could also be an opportunity for you to network and engage in that industry consultation that you may have got behind with when the RTO was open. By sitting down and networking and engaging with those industry providers, you might be able to identify new products and services that you can offer them or you can assist them with while they're also suffering or having trouble just existing during lockdown and the COVID pandemic. It's just a great opportunity for you to really sit down and contemplate, what is it that my clients need? What is it I can provide? What's our skill set? And maybe also, is there a way that we can manipulate or change our delivery and assessment strategies to better meet the needs of our core clients? Or is it that our core clients are actually changing and we haven't actually noticed? These are all great things to be thinking about. Another one is conducting RPL. Every RTO must provide RPL. That's in the standards. It's a not negotiable. Conducting RPL during this particular time has been really popular with people because for a long time they've been wanting to upskill or change industry areas, change jobs, and they haven't had the time to be able to do that course, or they may not have had time to be able to go through looking for all that evidence or engage with a provider to actually undergo the RPL process. So now that everyone's in lockdown, particularly over East, we're not in lockdown yet, again in the West, but who knows, that could happen any day. But while people are in lockdown, and as a provider, you could be offering RPL services and really engaging with your clients and your target group to help them change their circumstances and situations with life-changing courses and qualifications and even micro-credentials and things like that. Short courses, while I'm talking about it, literally have hundreds and thousands of dollars of resources available in your RTO. You might have a diploma of early childhood, for example, on your scope, and that qualification might have 33 units of competency. I don't know. I haven't looked at TGA. It's just for the purpose of the example. But you might have 33 units in that qualification, and that's 33 units that you can turn into a short course of some sort that is not accredited. And then when people want to come back and enroll in your RTO later, they may be able to obtain RPL and maybe just do the practical training when COVID allows them to, just as an example. You might want to take this opportunity to revisit how your RTO has traditionally done business and see what else you might be able to offer. You may find that there's an entirely new staff skill set that you weren't aware of because you've been so focused on what you're delivering on a day-to-day basis that sometimes we miss what's staring at us right in the face. And so it's a great opportunity to develop a skills and knowledge matrix, an experience matrix of everyone in the organization. And you might be able to find that there are other ways by investing in those people where you might be able to generate further income by really helping them to promote their skills and knowledge and expertise. So that's another one that you may want to consider. You may want to engage in those industry areas that you used to do before you became an RTO or before you became a training manager, before you started delivering training and assessment for 40 hours a week. You might go back to that industry area for a little bit and actually develop some currency. You may be able to document the process and get some evidence for your trainer and assessor portfolio. It may lead you to developing new short courses. It could give you a wide range of new experiences upon which to market and promote services, but as well as build those new or ongoing relationships that you already have with industry. As I said before, you could be developing online courses. You already have a lot of content. If we look at that diploma of early childhood that I used earlier, you have 33 units potentially of training and assessment materials that you're able to work with and put into an online content, either as single units or as a whole course. and promoting that as a partial learning experience where once the RTO is able to take students face to face again, or you can look at ways of delivering the practical in a compliant manner. Certainly, there's plenty of people around who can assist you with that, myself included. But the idea is that you have hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of resources that you can repurpose and create online courses with. Another one is, do you have courses, skills, or products and services that can benefit the community? So, for example, if you're a hospitality provider, specifically commercial cookery in my example that I'm going to give, you may be able to support the essential services workers by providing them with afternoon tea and morning tea and lunches and things like that through the food that you generate in the training kitchen. That way, that way it means that you don't have to close down your RTO as such. By implementing the social distancing practices and proper infection control, you can still manage your delivery and assessment and provide a meaningful outcome to the community during this time of the COVID pandemic. What are your competitors doing? Sometimes when we sit down and we watch what our competitors are doing, it gives us a great insight into other ways that we might be able to do things and generate more income as well. Sitting down in a group also, so for example a group on Facebook or on LinkedIn, and having those industry engagement discussions with people that you trust and they trust you. You can share ideas and support each other in what is a really challenging time. I mean, when COVID first hit, I don't think anybody thought that we would still be sitting here 18 months later all trying to find ways of surviving and generating income. Keeping our businesses alive without losing our house, without losing our staff, and just trying to make ends meet genuinely. Also, you might want to conduct webinars in your area of specialization. You might want to offer a new product or service, and you might want to offer that for free as a lead product, for example. And then if they want to know further about that particular product or service, they can contact you, and there might be a small fee attached to that new product or service or something along those lines. You can do webinars and get people to understand and become familiar with new products and services that you're offering, or even old ones that they were perhaps not familiar with previously. You might focus on areas that typically you don't have time to undertake PD training with, helping your staff also to undertake PD and update their trainer matrices and things like that. If you're a Cricos provider, you might want your staff to undergo ISANA training with the national code. They may want to do PRISMS training. You might want to provide ASQUANET training. There's a whole lot of training that must take place in an RTO so that you comply with your obligations as a provider and your staff are aware of what their legal obligations, responsibilities are. And maybe putting them online in that context is streamlining that process for you, which it may not be a way of making income during this survival period, but what it does do is it may streamline the costs and time that is also associated with those programs, thus saving you money in the long term. You might also offer assistance to local business as part of your delivery. Some small businesses out there in the community might be really struggling to survive. They've got their staff on JobKeeper or something like that because they want to keep them. Their intention is to keep operating in whatever industry area they are, but they can't afford to pay staff, and it's a real struggle to keep the doors open. Sometimes by allowing our students to do some of the hard work as an internship or part of their work-based training, even our trainers and assessors to get their currency. by engaging in that sort of assistance to local business. Not only are you meeting your own needs and promoting your products and services for the future, but you're also helping a small business to keep their doors open in a really tragically difficult time. Another thing that I thought of was that you might produce learner guides and assessment materials for sale. You might want to keep your IP to yourself, your intellectual property to yourself, and that's fine too. But this might be an opportunity for you. For example, if you've got a new training package that's in transition, you might be able to develop those materials, and you may see a market for being able to develop those materials for sale. It may be that you also sell session plans and things like that, PowerPoints. All of those things can bring in extra money, and it's an opportunity for you and your staff at that particular time, while you're in lockdown, to really be able to focus on trying to bring in new income streams. Another thing that I was thinking about, which is not so much a survival income, but it's more about cost efficiencies in the future long term, and how you might be able to benefit from that by implementing that work now. Things like providing staff training and induction programs online, developing an intranet with all of your policies and procedures and your training and assessment materials. A lot of people have them in ad hoc places on Dropbox and Google Drive all around the place, but an opportunity like this comes along very rarely, thankfully, and it might give you the opportunity to create an intranet, and it's a primary source of where you're going to get all of your information from. You might also prepare staff PD for the future, and undertake your validations and restructure some of your business, and putting all of that online may just save you some dollars in the long term, but you're putting in the hard work now when you might have more time available. Another thing that I thought of was to put your orientation programs online. For a lot of CRICOS providers, for example, it's very difficult to conduct your orientation program in person when you're in lockdown and the international borders are closed. So one way of being able to conduct an orientation program would be simply to put your orientation program online, and that way it's also evidenced for the auditors when you come along to do your audit. You've got evidence that they did actually participate in an orientation program. Saves you heaps of money down the track. Again, it's one of those investment things that if you invest in it now, it will save you time and money in the future. RTO Doctor also has an online agent monitoring course, if you like. It's a service where we conduct agent monitoring processes for your agents onshore or offshore, and that's certainly a program that we would be able to assist you to set up in your own organization. Again, one of those things that doesn't necessarily bring you in money now, but in the future it saves you money and time in terms of streamlining your operations and having that evidence base there constantly for ASQA's purposes. You could also, as I said before, join good quality networking groups and network with other high quality providers. Discussions are always free amongst these sorts of groups, and supporting each other is an invaluable experience. You never know when the help that you give is going to be really important to another person, and you never know when you might need help and that person can return the favor. You should also keep an eye out for government incentives, because they can really help. Look around for other incentives, and keep an eye on tenders. There are heaps of tenders that are always available through the tenders websites, and that's just another way of having an ongoing stream of income that is not reliant on your RTO being open. The tenders might be to do with education and training. It might be nationally recognised. It might be non-accredited. It might be in your original area of expertise. But nonetheless, having access to a tender is one way of generating survival income. that's about all the tips that I think I can come up with right now. And it's been a longer tip than what I anticipated again. But what I would like to do is to welcome anybody to please add tips for survival income into the comments, or ways of generating new income in the future by streamlining their processes and things right now. What I'll also do is I will include the link to the interview that I did with Sarah Cordner in, I think it was in May last year, when the pandemic really, really hit. I think it was about a half-hour interview that I did with Sarah, and you will find that fascinating. And she is great to work with if you're looking at trying to establish an online course that is non-accredited, and you don't need to be an RTO for. That's about all that I have for today. I wish to thank you very much for your listening and participation. We'll be back tomorrow with a topic on resumption planning, how to prepare for your resumption of training if you've been in hibernation. So thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye for now.